Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry. For today's video, I'm going to show off my first gameplay of the two new Void battles that released today. We got Frost Hermit and Obsidian Golem, and just talk a little bit about the update, all of the Void battle content that has come out or been data mined since yesterday, and we won't get to see Blazing Ghost until tomorrow, but I'll bring that out tomorrow. I'll also briefly mention, as for Water's Blessing, it turns out that everything water has a rate up on that showcase. So it's not just what's shown in the imagery, you actually have a higher chance of getting Zanefried, of Leviathan, and all of the 4-star water adventurers and all of the 3-star water adventurers, along with some Wormprints, Warlust, basically Never Melt Ice, and at 5-star were the rivals. But on this showcase there is a higher chance of getting one of those adventurers than there is the Wormprints category, so it's not actually that bad if you just want water as a whole. If you want a specific adventurer though, they have a 0.33 base chance rather than a 0.5% base chance. So that is the trade-off that you face. It's going to be harder to target. It's also harder to target the 4 stars compared to a normal showcase. But if you're just lacking water altogether, you should have a pretty high chance of getting some water units out of summoning on that. So that's the only update I have for that showcase. Now we'll get into the Void battles themselves. You'll know we got our lead up to the half anniversary login bonus. It's going to be single summon tickets for 7 days, and then maybe we'll get something more for the half anniversary. But as for the Void battles, Frost Hermit, it took him down pretty quickly. I have to say, having Maribels and finding other Maribels in public lobbies with that high amount of skill prep, up to 100% if she's got her final ring of her mana circle open, it makes it pretty easy to defeat this, and I was able to get the epithet later on in a public lobby with 2 other Maribels. This fight is a little tricky if you make it into longer in the fight. The clones that spawn are very hard to defeat without a clone punisher weapon, so it can make it hard. Part of the problem is it becomes tricky to target the main boss in the center, who will take significant damage from your normal attacks, because the clones are taking your auto aim. Basically they're taking the aim reticle that you send out, so often if you're a ranged character you'll end up attacking them instead. Now, I don't have any problems with it though. I think it's a cool mechanic, a cool fight. One thing to note is it says it inflicts Bog in the description, but it also inflicts Freeze, which is appropriate because it is a Frost Hermit. So from beating this, you can craft some new weapons. These are light weapons that have Undead Bane and Light Dull Res. Basically, that Light Dull Res comes into play with the second Void battle we got today, the Obsidian Golem. The Obsidian Golem is very similar to the Steel Golem, but it's Shadow Element, and so it can inflict Dull, and if you're using a melee character, you'll probably want that Dull Res. Now, I ended up using Ron to try take that on, and as you'll see, I'm pretty rusty on my Steel Golem pattern, so I got hit with Dull quite a lot, so maybe I should craft the Dull Res bow going forward. But just like with Steel Golem, I don't anticipate a need to play either Frost Hermit or Obsidian Golem very much. Basically because the weapons you can craft from those are just intermediaries to get to what's still the final few battles of Void battles, which are Zephyr and Manticore, and perhaps the Blazing Ghost that we'll get tomorrow. So from the Obsidian Golem, you can craft some new light weapons that have Physian's Bane, and they also have Fury Penetrator for the melee weapons. And that Fury Penetrator will actually let you break and diminish the overdrive gauge of raising Manticore, who had a Fury mechanic where you weren't able to do that before. So if you haven't been able to get that Manticore epithet, that could help a lot potentially. But the Manticore weapons themselves are just some water weapons with Slayer Strength and HP of 70% equals Strength, so those are not really even needed right now for anything, so it's not necessarily a high priority. And the other weapons that we got today were wind weapons that came from some of the existing battles. They're basically expanding the pool of what we can craft. So from the Shroom Strike, we can now craft some wind weapons with Thalmian's Bane and Copy Punisher that's basically designed to help you beat the Frost Hermit Strike if you can't beat it already. And from Void Zephyr, we can also craft some new wind weapons there. So it's similar to what we're able to craft the same 4 weapon types from that already that were light and flame before. For these wind weapons, we have Broken Punisher on the melee weapons, and we have HP of 70%, equals some recovery potency on the staff, and the staff also has skill prep of 50%. All of these weapons do, but it's relevant on the staff because that puts low and above 100%. So that's probably one of the better weapons from this new pool. One of the few ones I could see being relevant in the future, outside of the Void Battle loop, basically. Since none of these new weapons have a High Dragon Bane or anything like that, there's no High Brunhilde Bane weapons here yet. We're going to have to wait on that for the future. It seems like they're not ready to open up that content right away. Probably won't be until we get a new High Dragon. We'll have to wait and see what Blazing Ghost brings tomorrow. It is known that its weapons have Blindness Punisher and Shadow Dull Res. They're shadow weapons that go up to 4-star only. Because of that, their stats are weaker, so even for someone like Nefaria, if you have the Twinkling Sand to craft your 5-star weapon, that is probably still going to be better, especially since that has an attacking skill. It's not a bad skill at all. So that Blindness Punisher, I don't really know. There's nothing in the current loop of Void Battles that would demand Blindness Punisher or would require Shadow Dull Res in particular, but perhaps that hints at future Void Battle content. I, for one, am just happy to have the chance to replenish my Wormite, clear the Limited Endeavor since there are a lot of good rewards there, and since I hadn't finished my monthlies for Void Battles, once I heard this was coming out, I waited, so I still have to get my Steel Bricks, I still have to get my Knight's Testaments, and I still have to get my Ashes and my Honey from the Void Battle Treasure Trade. It's also pretty cool to see a new dragon. We got a Silver Fafnir this time around. It increases mana intake, and so that's going to be a priority for me as well. Even though, for me, most of my characters have already gotten their mana circles filled out, it is still pretty costly to fill out the rest of the 4 stars I have left, so I will probably pick one of those up and start to grind out mana eventually. But let me know what you think of the Void Battles in the comments below. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say, what your experiences were like with these fights, any critiques of my Ron gameplay since I know it was pretty bad. But I have gotten the epithet on both the Frost Hermit Strike from Pubs, and then in Discord I was able to get the epithet on Obsidian Golem just using Halloween El San and not getting hit. So I'm done with those. It's all about the Flaming Ghost now. Let me know, like I said. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.